Okay. So I have both the Farsi and the English. I don't know which one.
We see Farsi there.
Open the Farsi up and you can continue to translate it or narrate yours in English.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
So
this way.
yeah, so just to give a recap of where exactly we started and where we are now in the context of the book. We started out with the challenge, and the challenge was that like a seed, right? The shell is there, but there's no kernel inside it. That is analogous to the faith of many believers today and at the time, right? It seems like this is not a new problem. It's a problem that the Ummah has been struggling with, where the deeds are there, the forms of the actions, but the core of it, the meaning, is not there. And when what's trying to be expressed is that when that true iman is there, and that you've reached the true the true irfan, or the true knowledge from God, and you've reached that level of ainul yaqeen, people are going to want to have what you have. People are going to be rushing to have what you have. Those who don't believe, they're going to be in hasra of what you have. And if you don't see people, if we don't see people in hasra, it means that there's something wrong. So essentially, that's what the first few sections were about. It was about iman, true iman, right? And the lack of it results in actually the opposite effect. When the actions are there, but the inner meaning, right? The word is there, but the inner meaning is not there. And the word is analogous to our actions, but the inner spirituality is not there. It has the opposite effect. The example of the muazzin with the shrill voice was given, right? The example of the believer who was inviting the non-believer to belief, and the non-believer replied that if you're talking about the iman of Sheikh Bayazid, I would love to, but that's beyond my level. But if it's your iman and the likes of you, then thanks, but no thanks. So that was the challenge, right? What's the solution to this? So the first part that we read about afterwards, right? The solution was this shahada, where we talked about the world of alast, where Allah gathered all souls before having created humans, or the descendants of Adam, and He had gathered them all and said to them, Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala wa shahidna, right? And Mawlana Rumi's point was that ما در این دهلیز قاضی قضا بحر دعوای الستیم و بلا, right? What that means is, in this court of the judge of all judges, بحر دعوای الستیم و بلا, we are here to be judged on alast, means am I not your Lord? It's referring to that ayah. Va bala, and our confirmation of that, saying yes, right? And every action, every deed, every thought we think, right, everything in our heart should be a confirmation of that shahada that we gave during the day of alast. Okay. The next uh, section that we read, rivulet, was is the one we're in now, which is, or actually, sorry, it was about reminding of why creation was created, why Allah created mankind and jinn, right? And وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, right? I created mankind and jinn not except that they worship me. Or brother Dr. Abdul Rahman pointed out very nicely, it's actually beyond worship, like doing salat and fasting, right? The word abd, ubudiyya, right? The total slavehood. It's not just, you know, one or two actions. It's everything we do in our life um, should resemble that of a slave, a true slave to his master that has submitted. So now again, it's all about keeping everything in perspective. Every action we do, we need to remember why we're here to begin with. And so now we're in this section over here. We're in the Nahr Thani, right? The second river, and we're in Rahshaya Val. So the first rivulet. So last time we started talking about Tahara and water. So that's on page 29. Last time, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about najasat, right? The outer najasat, which half gum. It only the smell of it, the stinky smell of it, only extends 7 steps away. But the inner najasat, the najasat of one's soul, it goes from Ray, as it was is a city in Iran, just south of Tehran, all the way to Sham, all the way to Damascus. So the question is how to purify how to purify that. So I am just, okay, here it is. So that's what this set of couplets is about. It's about it's about how the saints, or the awliya of Allah, the true friends of Allah, who have reached that true level of friendship, how he's making an analogy between their purifying effect on our souls with that of water, the effect that water has on the earth. But what's really interesting here is actually this is very interesting to the discussion Dr. Abdul Rahman led last week, and also the poem that Brother Tahir had sent earlier this week about the purifying effect of water. And when I read this, it kind of resonated, and it makes sense, because we don't live in an isolated world, right? We don't really have this option to kind of go live in seclusion for 12 months of the year and just, you know, meditate and pray all day. We all have families. We have to work for a living. We have to pay bills. We have this constant. we try to go into our short seclusions for our prayer and our ibadah, but when we come out, we have to interact with, we interact with our families. We deal with different issues. We go to our workplace. We deal with different issues and stresses there, and it's actually very analogous to this. I feel like this poem over here is it's something that I think we can all relate to. So maybe I'll I'll go through and I'll read it, and maybe try to translate it together with
But the
Dr.
Mehdi, sorry to interruption, but on the English translation is the page number 37.
Yes, let me see.
Just want to make sure that we can look at that as well.
Yes, page 37.
Sure.
Yes, yeah. So okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So آب بهر آن ببارید از سماک تا پلیدی ها کند از خبث پاک. So this means that water rained down from the sky تا پلیدی ها کند از خبث پاک, to cleanse or to purify the impurities and make it pure. Okay, so basically the the dirt and whatnot that's on the earth, on the ground, to have a cleansing effect on it. So the next couplet says آب چون این کار کرد و شد نجس تا چنان شد که آب را رد کرد حس. So this it's interesting, right? It's saying that water, when water did this, the water itself became najis. تا چنان شد که آب را رد کرد حس. And it did this until the water became such that it became undesirable again. It made it in terms of its appearance and its smell and taste. It became rather unappealing.
Mhm.
And so is that you agree with that, Dr. Abdurrahman?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right?
Except that tachuna means to till what time, So it means this is a temporary thing with that occurred to the water.
yes,
I'm sure. Yeah. Mm.
So this is actually, it's one of those things one can relate to, right? Like you pray, you have a very nice, good spiritual feeling, spiritual energy afterwards, and then maybe an hour later you get into an argument with your supervisor at work, and it's like that purity that you had gained kind of becomes muddied again.
Yes.
I think it's interesting what docs have said. There's a temporary change because
Yeah.
the content has not changed.
Because he's going to tell you in the next few lines.
Sometimes the water can, if something else is mixing, you can bring it back to the same state again. And there are impurities which you can cleanse. There are filters you can clean. There's certain filters, when the content changes, it's not going to be changed. But the impurity which can be, again, filtered and can come back to the state of what was before. So it's interesting to see that from that point of view, that it's not that, okay, it's gone and now you can't go back. When is that? So that's interesting, mashallah.
Yeah. So then the next part is the solution to this problem. Okay, it says حق ببردش باز در بحر ثواب تا بشستش از کرم آن آب آب. So haq, it's referring to Allah, who is the absolute truth, right?
Yeah, the divine power.
Divine power, yes. Haq bibordsh baz dar bahr sawab. So Allah takes it again to the ocean of sawab, right? The ocean of goodness, of truth, right? Bishostash, until it washes it from the karam, from the generosity of that water of all waters, right? So Allah takes this seeker, this old wali, right? He takes him back and he purifies his soul for him again, him or her, I should say.
Yeah.
سال دیگر سال دیگر آمد آن دامن کشان این کجا بودی به دریای خوشان. So next year came, سال دیگر آمد means next year came on دامن کشان. So the water came back again proudly next year.
With generosity, with
Yes.
opening his, laps to it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Hin koja budi. So then it is asked of the water. The water gets asked by the earth, where were you?
Yeah.
And then the water replies, Bedaryaya Khoshan. I was in the sea of the good. So
Yeah. Of the
Khoshan,
happy ones, or the pleased ones, or the satisfied ones. Yes. Wow. What a beauty.
yes. So it just, after reading this, it kind of made me, sometimes, like, you get muddied, right? You have
Yeah.
spiritual energy, then you go someplace, I don't know, it could be family related, it could be work or whatever. You feel like you've become muddied, and it's disappointing, right? You feel like,
Yes.
but when you read it, it's like, no, wait, this is part of the process,
Part of the plan. Yes.
part of
You
the
see,
plan.
in the company of the good, you become purified again. So
Yes.
I think if we read 2 or 3 lines and translate that, then expand on it, then
Okay.
Maulana himself will help us, because
Oh,
he's explaining it in future lines,
yeah.
and we are struggling earlier on. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. در پذیرم جمله زشتیت را چون ملک پاکی دهم افریت را چون شوم آلوده باز آنجا روم سوی اصل پاکی ها روم.
You left out the one line up there which was very key.
Which one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, in by I.
This
Ki balidan suwe man, ke giriftat huwe yazda huwe man. That one.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I skipped that.
Yeah. That's the one. Very.
Yeah.
key.
Let me read that.
key.
هین بیایید ای پلیدان سوی من که گرفت از خوی یزدان خوی من.
Right.
Okay. در پذیرم جمله زشتیت را چون ملک پاکی دهم افریت را چون شوم آلوده باز آنجا روم سوی اصل پاکی.
Paki haravam. Wow.
So hin بیایید ای پلیدان سوی من. It means, oh you who are not clean, right?
Who have contaminated themselves.
Yes. Come to me.
Yes.
So this is the Awliya. He came back to the earth, right? After having been cleansed again, he's telling them, come to me. که گرفت از خوی یزدان خوی من. So my خوی, my nature, or my maybe my spirit has benefited, or has acquired from the hui of the nature of Yazdan, means God. So so
that I can again acquire the nature of God, and that comes towards my nature. In other words, I was impurified. Now I want to get purified again. Then I have to take it from the divine.
That's right. Then he's saying Dar paziram. So again, this is the wali, right? He's saying Dar paziram jumle zeshtit ra. I will take in all of your ugliness, or the impurities that you have acquired. I will take in all of
that you have been exposed to.
Exactly, that you've been exposed to. Chon malak paki daham ifrit ra. And he says, like a king, I give purity to the ifrit. Ifrit here is like the jinn, right? So he's saying, I can even, I think what it's saying is I can even make shaitan pure. Did you agree with that, Dr. Abdul?
Malak here is the angel, not
Angel.
the king. Yeah.
Well, the
Malaik.
translation is it says, "I'll accept all your foulness. I will bestow purity like that of the angel on the demon."
Yeah. Here it's angels to the
Demon.
jinns.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
jinn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Chun
translation.
shavam alude baz anja ravam. And then the wali is saying, when I become alude, when I become impure,
Contaminated. Contaminated.
contaminated, yeah, baz anja ravam, I will go there again.
Hmm.
Suya asle paki
Ki
hara.
haravam. Wow.
I will go to this the asl, the source of purities
Yes.
again. Then the next line, I'll read the next couple of them. So then again, he's talking about this process. He's saying, دلق چرکین برکنم آنجا ز سر خلعت پاکی دهد بار دگر کار او این است و کار من همین عالم آرای است رب العالمین.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. So دلق چرکین means دلق چرکین برکنم آنجا ز سر. When I go there, right, I will remove my dirty, my contaminated robe. Okay, I'll take it off. خلعت پاکی دهد بار دگر. خلعت means an honorable king's robe. It's like the robe that a king wears. It's basically saying Allah will put on a clean, pure king's robe on me again. So every time I become contaminated here, I go back to God. I take off that dirty robe and I get a clean, honorable robe.
I get it off my head, take it off over my head,
Yes.
and then put a new one second time. Yeah.
کار او این است و کار من همین.
Amin. Alamara Istrabdugan. Wow, wow.
So کار او این است. So his job is this. و کار من همین. And my job is this.
Yes.
عالم آرای است رب العالمین. Rabbul Alamin, the Lord of the worlds, is a decorator of the universe.
The universe. Wow.
And this refers to the Quran, the ayah, where Allah says, Inna zayyanna sama, right? Where Allah says, we have decorated the universe. So then I'll read the next few. گر نبودی این پلیدی های ما کی بودی این بارنامه آب را چون نماند مایش تیره شود همچو ما اندر زمین خیره شود ناله از باطن برآرد کی خدا آنچه دادی دادم و ماندم گدا. So this first one over here is really interesting. And it gives so much perspective. It says, Gar nabudi in palidi hayama. If it were not for our impurities, for our contaminations, ke budi in barname abra. It means when would the water have had such high value? So when would it be so valuable? So barname is referring, I think, from what I read, it's like the invitation that one gets from like a king to it's a very honorable invitation that you get. And what it's saying is, when would water have had such high value to receive this honorable invitation? So it's like the way I'm understanding it is that the reason why, the prophets, the saints, right, the mu'mineen who are at a high level, the reason why they are so valuable to begin with is because of the impurities that they have to deal with on the earth. If they were just living in seclusion their whole lives, for like 90 years without interacting with anybody, when would that be valuable? If it weren't for Abu Lahab, for Abu Jahl, if you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached that high level that he did was because of his interactions
Yes.
and dealings with these people who were at the opposite end of the spectrum. And this is if you think about it, it's I think one of the things that Islam has that other religions like Christianity struggle with, it's this question of evil, right? Why does evil exist in the world? And I think what the thing with Islam is that the Quran constantly tells us that this is a test. This is a test. This whole life is a test, and yeah, Allah tests us through different means, and it's how we emerge from that test that ends up raising our value. Um, Whereas in Christianity, for example, I think there is a struggle to answer this question of why evil exists. Um, Another example, right? Imam Hussein and Yazid. The reason why Imam Hussein became Imam Hussein is because there was a Yazid at the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and all of our other prophets, Prophet Musa and Pharaoh, um, and Dawood and Jalut. It's the fact that interaction, that dealing with the struggle against the impurity, is what makes water, right, have such high value. If everything was clean and pure to begin with, then water would not be so valuable. Um, so چون نماند مایش تیره شود همچو ما اندر زمین خیره شود. So so here again, it's saying that if water were to remain here on earth, um it's it would become, the liquid would become dark tire. It would become like kind of clouded and muddy again. Hamchoma and der zamin khire shavad. And like us, hamchoma, like us, it would go into the ground again. And then this part over here, this next line is beautiful. It's saying nale az batin bararad ki ay khuda. So this is the water, or the saint, after he or she has become impure, right? Nale az batin bararad. So a a nale. I'm trying to find a word for nale, meaning
Our wails, our crying. Yeah. Our
crying.
request.
Yes, a
Yeah.
request. Yeah,
Humble request. Yeah.
yeah, humble request from the batin, from one's
From
inner
our inner being.
inner being. Yeah, comes. It comes out. "Ey Khuda, oh God, anche dadi, whatever you gave me, dadam, I gave it away. Vamandam geda, and I've become poor and needy again."
Again. I became a seeker again.
Yes, yes. So
Mm.
it, it's like this is kind of a guide for us in our daily interactions, right? You
Yes.
you have an interaction with somebody and you feel like, okay, you've lost your spiritual energy as a result of it. You've become contaminated. Your soul has become contaminated, and it's giving you a solution of how you go back to God and you use words like this, Anche dadi dadam mandam geda. Oh God, whatever you gave me, whatever spiritual energy you gave me, I've given it away, and I'm needy again. I'm a seeker again.
If you give me a second here, Brother Zafar, Jamil Tarak in Pakistan, our Imam, is going through that now
Yes.
because he chose to go and instruct and teach those prostitutes in Lahore, and he
Oh,
was criticized for it. And he said that somebody has to do this. These are my daughters. I have to give them the lesson. They have to receive the message. And in so doing, of course, he took a lot of blame that he's visiting there and this and that. And he cried for poor fellow. But again, this reminds me of that
wow.
you go there, you expose yourself to so-called impurities,
Yeah.
take their impurities, contaminate yourself, and then come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Mhm.
and have that washed away and cleansed. So this is a great, great thing that really applies to his situation now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think as I reflect,
Mm.
you still have to go towards the end.
Maybe
Mhm.
with just three, four last ones.
Towards the end. Okay, go ahead, please.
You want me to finish them? Okay. ریختم سرمایه بر پاک و پلید، ای شه سرمایه ده هل من مزید. So, so this is a continuation of the previous one. Again, the saint, the wali, is saying to Allah, "Richtam sarmaye." So it's like my capital or my investment or what you've given me, right? Everything, my goods, what I have. I've richtam bar pako palid means I've I spilled it and gave it away bar pako palid on pure and also contaminated things, people, whatever. I've given it all away. A shahsar means oh king of of sarmaya. Again, sarmaya, it means capital, like goods, capital, investment,
Resources, total.
resources. Yes, thank you. Thanks for helping me find these words. so he's saying to Allah, "Oh, you are the king of resources." So deh bide means give. So this is really brilliant what Maulana Rumi does. Hal mim mazid. So I had to think a lot about what he's trying to say here.
Al
So
ben Mazid is from a part of the Quranic verse.
yes, it's when, so in the Quran, in Surah Al-Qaf,
Mhm.
there's a conversation between Allah and Jahannam, right? He says,
Mm.
وَنَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمَ هَلِ امْتَلَأْتِ وَتَقُولُ هَلْ مِن مَزِيدٍ.
Mazid.
And we
Mm.
say to Jahannam, are you full yet? And then the hellfire, Jahannam, replies, is there more? So, so, A Shah Sarmaya, O king of resources. So deh hal mim mazid. So he's basically here. He's saying, I guess here he's analogous to, he's kind of comparing himself to the fire, and he's saying, give me more. I need more.
There, yeah.
Um,
Yep. Mm.
so it's, again, an example of how Maulana Rumi blends Arabic and Farsi and takes parts of the Quran together. Really, really beautiful.
Now you solved this problem for me because from me I was reading as Shudha Sarmaya. It's Shah Sarmaya.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written that way.
Yes.
And yeah, that confused me. Mm.
Yeah.
Ish and Shah Sarmaya. Now it makes sense to me. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the Mathnawi itself,
I
because I was
see.
also reading Aisha the Sarmayan. I
Mm.
didn't understand like
Mm.
what Aisha Sarmayan makes more sense.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so لطف را گوید ببر جای خشش، هم تو خورشیدی به بالا برکشش، راههای مختلف میراندش تا رساند سوی بحر بی حدش. خود غرض زین آب جان اولیاست که غسول تیرگی های شماست. So, so lutf را گوید. So lutf again here is referring to Allah, right? Lutf, kindness.
Yeah.
Is one of Latif, right? Latif is one of the names of Allah.
Right.
لطف را گوید ببر جای خشش means take him, take, you know, the water, right? Take it. This is after it's become impure, right? Take it to a good place, right? Take it,
Yep.
take it to the best place. Ham to khorshidi be bala barkeshash, and Allah is telling the sun to bring the water up. So it's like make it evaporate and bring it back up to the sky, to
Right.
the clouds. Raha, so this is a beautiful analogy here. In the next a couplet, it says Rahay mukhtalif miranadash. So it so it's saying Allah takes this water to different places and different routes. So it's like this process, it just keeps on going over and over. The water goes up to the sky, it goes back to somewhere else in the ground, goes back up to the sky again, some other place in the ground, and this just keeps happening and happening and happening. Ta resanad suye bahre bihadash, until this keeps happening, this cycle again, until the water finally reaches Allah's unlimited ocean.
Limitless ocean. Beautiful.
Yes. Yes. So it's like we just kind of have to keep going through this cycle again and again.
And again.
And then finally, khud qaraz zin ab jan awliyast. So it's kind of explaining again the the point of this analogy, this example of water is the soul or the spirit of the awliya, the true friends, the true lovers of Allah. که غسول تیرگی های شماست, and whom are the cleansers, the, you know, they do ghusl, they wash تیرگی های شما, the contaminations and impurities of you.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that
See, no amount of explanation we could have given would have topped this. but Mawlana did himself in these, 10 lines, mashallah.
Exactly. Yeah. Really beautiful.
See, the water cycle is such an amazing thing. More you think of it, more you realize there is more to it than we understand. I still cannot understand why we dig only 20 feet, 30 feet, and we have a level of water for our wells that can stay there forever and ever. I mean, you look at the crust of the earth and all, where is the place for the water to stay for wells? But it does stay.
That's amazing.
Anywhere on earth, you go, you dig, and you find water underneath. How does that happen? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually can relate to it because here in New Jersey, a lot of people have well water for their houses.
Everywhere. But what I'm saying is that earth, you look at it, and it can contain somewhere, there is a gap somewhere that he created so that the water can stay there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And also, this water which we see, the water which we are using and wasting and get contaminated, it goes back into the earth and get filtered through those different layers of the soil. And I was looking at the example of, we have these new technologies of purifying the water, where even the sewage water becomes drinkable.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the same, just thinking the same thing that, what we're doing is that you're putting your spiritual filters. So as you're sinning more and more, so you have the spiritual filters. Through this, you go back to the state and then you come back. So the cycle you're completing, making an error, come back to it. So you have these filters which you are, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with, because this is a challenge, as we talked earlier about, what is this really behind it, and you just can't live in isolation, which means that, yes, you will go back dirty. There's no question. But do you have those spiritual filters with you that you're coming back to it, so you don't get lost into the filth forever?
Yeah.
And you keep on coming back, and you keep on coming back, and His mercy is beyond oceans. And so you
Subhanallah.
can be restored of a state of hopelessness. You always in hope. Assalamu alaikum, Amir. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Tahir bhai. And if I may add also a point on this from the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how the milk comes from the cow,
Right.
between blood and filth and all the other
Mhm.
bodily fluids that are in there, but the milk that comes out is pure.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Bishop. Bishop. So,
That's
alhamdulillah,
great.
there's
Yeah.
a,
You
so
see,
there's,
if the people with small knowledge, they would say that what is the fault of this water that suddenly it falls into a bad place or whatever else and becomes impure. That's unfair to that water.
Yeah.
But when you read on further and you see the total wisdom, hikmah behind all of that,
Mhm.
then you understand that we cannot shy away from the sinners and evildoers and stuff. You still have to interact with them, although it might contaminate you temporarily. But then he's the one that purifies you when you go to sleep and you pray to him back, and he can cleanse you again. So this is tremendous hikmah behind all of this.
Yeah.
and also I think one more thing also is that, if this process were not there, it makes you so arrogant. So you have to go back. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be in that state, because if you become just pure and just remain in the state of purity and
Mhm.
not see the side, then, and that arrogance, and we see in the spiritual arrogance, it makes you that arrogance, one, you can go no wrong. I mean, look at that state of mind. When you
Yes,
see that state that you can no wrong, that state is the worst state. So
exactly. And
it's really a blessing that you're going to the state to remain who it's supposed to be.
yeah, so this is why the life of Mawlana is a real example of how he lived, how he interacted with everyone, every creation. I mean, Jews, Christians, atheists, everyone was welcome, and he was pleasant to everyone. That's why his third phase of life after he went into the grave, this phase is so more illuminating that it's unbelievable. He continues to guide the humanity and more. And this is amazing phase that he acquired because of that good nature. And
Yeah.
he understood. Look at how he explained this water thing. I have never seen any explanation this good anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Very nice.
It's worth reading again and again.
I
Mm.
agree. I
Mashallah,
agree.
mashallah.
Mm.
And it's actually, I mean, it on so many levels. It's interesting.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's actually one of the criticisms that atheists have of religion, right? They say that how can you have nauzubillah, right? How do you justify evil in the world? And it's it's when you kind of put it in the perspective of what Maulana Rumi is saying,
Yes.
there is, the Mathnawi-ye opera, right? How can
Mm.
water be deserving of, the invitation to the king's throne if it weren't for these impurities, if it weren't for the evil?
Yep.
It's without evil, you don't have good, right? Good means nothing when
Without doing this dirty work.
yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic, Brother Mahdi.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Rahman.
Going with the time.
Tahir. We're at about 7:30, so um,
I think we did good on this session today.
yeah,
This was good. So we can read some more.
Yes.
inshallah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
without you, Brother Mahdi, this Lubb-e Lubab thing reading, because of the mistakes there. I mean, not mistakes, but shortcomings.
yeah,
Sometimes he misses a nukta, sometimes he misses here, and
yeah,
I get lost. So
I agree.
yeah, but I'm glad that you're here. You know exactly what it should say.
No, thanks, thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, this. I remember when Sheikh Mendez he sent this PDF to me like a couple of years ago, and he told me, he said, "Brother Mehdi, this is a miraculous text," and I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know what he meant when he said that, but it's like, as I'm going more and more into it, it's amazing, like what Maulana Kashifi has done here. It's kind of like taking a book like Tale of Two Cities from Charles Dickens, and not changing anything from it, but just picking lines from that book and making a totally new story. The way that Maulana Kashifi has done that here with the Mathnawi is remarkable. He's made like a path. I mean, Maulana Rumi tells a different story, right? When you start from the Mathnawi with the story of the Nay, the Vishnu as Nay, hikayat,
Two hikayat bhi guna.
yeah, exactly. It's telling a whole different story, but over here I wouldn't even call it a summary. It's like it's telling a new story, a new guide from you, but using the exact same lines from that, and he's giving you a path for how to think about things and how to go on this journey of purification.
Yep.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So would somebody like to conclude with a dua?
Amir, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So maybe you should close it with a brief dua.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Oh Allah, we ask you to increase us in knowledge. We ask you to benefit us from that which we learn. Oh Allah, we ask you to give us the wisdom and the tawfiq to learn from the great lessons, the great insights, the great wisdom that has been passed on to us from our forefathers. Oh Allah, help us to be those who study these texts, understand these texts, and apply these texts in our lives. And oh Allah, guide us to lives that please you, and deeds that are accepted by you, and raise us in our ranks. وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
آمين يا رب العالمين. ما شاء الله.
Allah khair.
MashaAllah.
Nice.
Okay, thank you everybody. I always start my Sundays off with really great spiritual energy because of these meetings and interacting with you.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you and keep enlightening us like you do. Until we meet again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.